I specifically went and got some donuts this month just so I could put my cookie donuts, our set for this month, in a actual donut box. And you can see there were donuts in here. It is from one of my absolute favorite donut places in Maine called Lovebirds. Check them out if you're ever in southern Maine, Kittery area. But this month's set, if you haven't picked up on it yet, is a beginner donut set. And frankly, I'm surprised I haven't done donuts yet. I've never decorated them on my own, and I've never put together a set for Iced.Kitchen. My name is Cami Bird. I'm the creator of Iced.Kitchen, and it's all about beginner cookie decorating techniques and styles and keeping things simple but fun. We got 3 styles of donuts to decorate this month. We have a powdered sugar donut cookie. We have just kind of like a regular, I honestly kind of think of these as like a Simpson donut. It's strawberry. It's not actually strawberry, but that's what pink is, with sprinkles. And then we have a chocolate donut with a swirl. Now, because we remove the donut hole, the circle in the middle of the donut, they do the same thing with actual donuts, we are left with some donut holes or Timbits or munchkins or whatever they are called in your neck of the woods. And so we're going to decorate those too. They can be a nice snack, maybe something you eat while you're decorating, maybe something you share for later. But let's get into mixing the colors, which I have some tips for getting this brown. I was not a fan. Color mixing to get brown, very hard. But I'm going to show you how to make it easy. And then we're also going to do a little bit of a technique where we add some texture on top of this powdered sugar donut so that it looks like powdered sugar, right? It's not as clean as a regular donut. So let's get into making up our icing, mixing the colors, and decorating our cookies. Before we get into icing, I want to talk about the shape of the cookies. Now, typically we're doing a circle cookie, but these have a cutout. So I pulled this little cutout from a biscuit donut cookie cutter I have, and the actual cookie cutter is a little smaller than I like for my cookies. So I got rid of that and just took out the centerpiece to get my donut holes out of my cookies, and that's what you're seeing right here. But if you don't have something like this, you can find other various things. Like I had this for taking the center out of cupcakes. I truly do not remember how it works, and I actually wish I had used this one instead because there was this big hole to poke out the donut holes. Now, another option is if you have a really big piping tip, you can use that, although you're probably not going to be able to use the donut holes, or you can just have a solid cookie and not go in the circle. For our icing, we're going to make 3 colors: white, pink, and brown. And we're starting here with the white, and I'm just adding some water, and we're just mixing to get a 15 to 20 second consistency. I actually added way too much water in this process, and so I added a little bit more icing to thick it back up. And here we go. I'm just watching it fall off the spatula. If it kind of falls like Elmer's glue out of a container, you are at a good spot, and that's where we're at here. Now, next up we have pink icing. So I am just adding a little bit of red to make this pink icing and water, and I'm going slower with the water addition this time around. It's going to look really red right out of the gate, but you can see that it's softened to get to a more pastel pink, which is exactly what we're going for. And on this one, we're going to do the actual second counter test. So this is me letting it run off the spatula, but you can run your spatula through it and count the seconds until it all kind of evens out. And so I could have counted all of these seconds, and you'd see it comes to 15 or 20 seconds. Now, next up we have brown, and you can see I'm not starting off with white in this bowl. I had been mixing yellow, red, and blue in various combinations to try and get a brown. I added some black to darken it and some more red because it was leaning a little bit too blue, and I was just not getting there. So I pulled out a brown food coloring. I really try and stick to just using the primary colors for these sets, but I could not figure out how to get to a brown color. So I added the brown food coloring. I added so much coloring, I thought this icing would not develop very nicely because if you add too much food coloring, it just won't ever dry. Thankfully, it did not happen. And while this brown wasn't even looking ideal here, it did dry darker, which was perfect for these donuts. So just trust the process a little bit. Let's set up our workspace. I always put down a piece of parchment paper, and then I have my little turntable I decorate on. Always need my paper towel, my scribe. This time we're also going to be using a sponge to create some texture. And then obviously I need the royal icing and some sprinkles and the cookies. And the last thing we need to do before we can start decorating is obviously cut the tip of our tipless piping bag. So I always just like to get a completely flat edge, and this time I'm having the seam on the side so that I can cut a very straight line. Remember, less is more. You can always cut off more of your piping bag, but you cannot cut off less of your piping bag. So I didn't have quite the edge I wanted, so I turned it 90 degrees and I'm cutting again so I can have a little bit of a thicker point of icing coming out. Next up we have the brown, and flat again, cutting the end of the tip, and then I'm going to test it, see if it looks straight before I pipe anything out, make sure that everything's clear. It didn't look straight, so I came back with my scissors and I'm just straightening out that edge after I turned it 90 degrees. Perfect cut. That's the consistency I want. Or the amount of volume. I don't know. Words aren't making sense. And with the white, I'm a little bit more carefree because I'm not doing any sort of specialized work with the white, so perfect. I recommend starting with the powdered sugar donut cookie, which is a mouthful to say, just because there's a piece where you need to let the white icing dry a little bit. So you're going to start off by just outlining the entire outside of the cookie, and then you're going to outline the inner circle of the cookie. And I do this about 2 to 3 times, and then you're just filling the cookie as normal. And you can see I'm not being super careful. I do want to get quite a bit of icing onto this cookie, just so it'll even out quicker for me, and that we get a nice puffy icing across the cookie. And then I'm coming in with my scribe and just getting the icing to those edges, nothing too crazy. Once it is dry, and this is the important part, it has to be dry, not just to the touch, but what we call crusted over. And that is because we are going to be piping on icing like you just saw me do. You don't have to do anything fun and creative. You're just looking to get icing on. And then I'm holding this in my hand because it allowed me to work faster. I'm coming in with a sponge and just lightly dabbing across the cookie to give this cookie texture with that icing. And any spot where I don't feel like I had enough, I'm coming back with more icing to dab with my sponge. And there you have the powdered sugar donut cookie. The chocolate frosted with a pink swirl starts with the same steps essentially. You are going to outline the cookie 2 to 3 times with your brown icing, and then you're going to do the same thing on the inside. Whether you have a hole on the inside of your cookie or you just left a solid cookie, you're going to act like you're creating a hole. And then you're just going to fill in with your brown icing. Again, nothing too crazy here. You want to make sure that it is even throughout the cookie, but you're looking to get that brown icing on. And I swear this cookie dries browner than it looks. You're going to come in with your scribe, again, just making sure that you're evening it out. You're making sure your icing's going from edge to edge. And then we're going to come in with the pink. And this is where you want to be a little bit more careful and a little bit more patient, which is never my strong suit. And the patience comes in because you are going to let the icing fall out of the bag more than press it out of the bag. And it is an art form when it comes to doing good line work, but that is how I'm able to not cross that center section to get the zigzag across the cookie for our chocolate frosted swirl donut. The strawberry frosted with sprinkles donut cookie is the easiest one in the set. You're going to start by outlining the outer edge of your circle cookie, and I do this 2 to 3 times, and then you're going to repeat for the inner edge, or if you didn't create a circle for your donut
cookie, then you are creating that edge on the inner circle. Once you have both of those edges, usually 2 to 3 passes with the icing, you're going to start filling in. And this is where my hand was mad at previous self because I didn't create the whole of this pink icing very big. And that is because I was doing the lines on the chocolate. So what I should have done was just done the lines on the chocolate frosted donuts and then cut a bigger hole so that my hand was not struggling to get this icing out of the bag. But once you get past this struggle, then you can come in with your scribe and just even it out. You can see that this icing actually evened out pretty nicely without the scribe. And then you're just topping off with however many sprinkles, whatever sprinkles you want. And I'm taking a little bit of time and care to make sure they're on the donut, but there's your donut.
And just like that, you have yourself some donuts and some donut holes. What are donut holes called in your neck of the woods? I hope you enjoyed putting the set together. Again, we made 3 different styles of donuts. And for the first time, we actually worked with changing the shape of our cookie by taking out the center hole. So hopefully that wasn't too difficult for you. I really enjoyed doing this set. It's not a terribly complicated set. I would say there are 2 difficult things in this set. And one comes with this chocolate donut and how we are putting the pink swirl on top, trying to not get it in the hole in the middle. Now, if you did just keep swirling across, you can just scrape away that extra icing in the middle. On the donut holes, the swirl was much easier to do. Now, my intention with these pink ones was to make our own icing, make our own sprinkles using the white icing. And then I figured, you know what? I have a lot of sprinkles. I bet you have some sprinkles at home, and it's easy enough to just throw sprinkles onto this cookie, and it's a lot faster. And I would say next to the stripes on this cookie, the hardest part for me was having the patience to let these powdered sugar cookie donut cookies, powdered sugar donut cookies to dry. Yeah, we have all of our variations of donuts. Let me know which is your favorite donut to decorate and also your favorite donut to eat. If I had to choose my favorite donut to eat, it would probably be a combination, or a tie actually, between a maple bar and I'm very much my father's daughter when it comes to loving maple bars and apple fritters. So I got 3 questions for you. Which was your favorite donut to decorate? What is your favorite donut to eat? And where is your favorite donut place? Please let me know in the comments. And if you have a specific cookie set that you want to do, technique you want to try, whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments. And I will be sure to try and incorporate it in the future.